When Joe Rogan started his podcast, he live broadcasted in 2009 on a streaming platform with a snow filter and his mate Brian Redban. And in their own words, they sat in front of their laptops for an hour bullshitting. Joe had no idea what he was doing, but he just started anyway. Now, in the present day, he has by far the most subscribers of any podcast. On Spotify, he has 3 times more subscribers than the second biggest podcast, and he would have never got there if he tried to be perfect. And the same could be said for Jimmy Donaldson, otherwise known as Mr. Beast. When he recorded his first YouTube video, no one watched it. In fact, no one watched his first 100 videos. Despite that, he kept on proving one little thing every video, and he now has 250 million subscribers and is by far the biggest YouTuber on the planet. And the point in both these cases is that we'll often find we think we need to get better, or we need to know more, or we need to have a qualification before we can start something, whether that's running a podcast, starting a business, or getting the job that we want. We feel we need to study more or be more qualified, or we might even feel that we are too late to even bother. These are limiting beliefs that get in the way of our own potential. Any self-aware person should pretty quickly arrive at the wonderful realization that the only person actually getting in the way of their own success is themselves. You likely won't hit all of your goals this year, and when that happens, it won't be because you were incapable or the limitations of your environment. It will be because you got in your own way. Hello and welcome to the Growth Mindset Podcast with me, Sam Webster Harris. And here on the show today, we are discussing 5 self-limiting beliefs that you need to get rid of. This is a pretty timeless topic, and so this episode is a classic that I'm revisiting from 2 years ago, complete with my partner's mum's cat who felt like he really wanted to be on the podcast with me. So lots to look forward to today. We started the episode with 2 free or bonus self-limiting beliefs, which is our perfectionism and desire to do things right, and thinking that we're too late. Now, let's dive deeper and study our inner critic. Have you ever called yourself an idiot or stupid, or said things like, "Oh, I hate myself. I'm so useless. Why am I always late? I can't do anything." These are some very common phrases that come from our inner critic. And sure, it is good to judge ourselves and recognize where we can do better. But our inner critic can overextend a little bit and start to dismiss our abilities, dismiss our worth and our choices. This internal negative self-talk might start off very harmless, but it does genuinely take a toll on our confidence and self-esteem, and you'll find it leads to subtle changes in our motivation, whilst reducing productivity and increasing anxiety. And it's very important to silence your inner critic. It's definitely not easy to do because our inner critic can come out often very much unnoticed and on autopilot as a default answer to things. Can't find your keys? Oh, I hate myself. Why do I always do this? Lol, I'm so useless. It just flows so freely, but it's bad. One thing that you can do to seriously help is call a friend. They can be much better at catching you out every time you talk to yourself like an idiot, because they are, of course, external to your default thought pathways. But that's not always practical, and they aren't there around you all the time. So you can also try to be that friend to yourself. Try to remind yourself to speak in the same way that you would to talk to someone in your life who you like. Another big thing is actually affirmations, and I generally go out of my way to ever avoid talking too much about affirmations because it can get really mistaken for not taking action. But done right, affirmations can be very healthy. Reminding yourself that you aren't stupid and that you can do things daily with a relevant affirmation that specifically relates to critical sorts of default things that you personally say for yourself can be very powerful. Especially when it's a verbal tick like, "Oh, I hate myself," or something that just goes unnoticed. Having a daily affirmation can be an important reminder that can nudge you into recognition of your inner critic and when you slip up during the day. And it will help you reframe your self-talk as it happens when you're like, "Oh, here's that moment where I do that thing that isn't actually that useful for me. I can change it." So, number 1, inner critic. Now, the second self-limiting belief, which is the fear of mistakes or believing that a mistake is too costly. A brilliant way to limit yourself is to believe that you can't afford to make a mistake. The prevention versus promotion mindset is amazingly powerful. When you are in the prevention mindset, you are trying to avoid failure. When you are in the promotion mindset, you are seeking to advance and to win. You'll see this all over, whether in history with armies or today in companies that are big and trying not to fail and clinging on to keeping the thing that they have going versus being innovative like startups that shoot to win and disrupt. In a study of football teams during penalty shootouts, it was shown that when the team was shooting to just try and stay in and not lose, they were much less successful than when they were shooting to win. You'll find there are endless activities where we can shut down our opportunities due to an expectation that mistakes are too costly. This fear can stem from a misconception that failure defines us or that a failure will irreversibly impact our path to success. In reality, mistakes are a perfect learning opportunity that will offer insights that lead to innovation and improvement. Just look at a stand-up comedian. If they were too afraid to tell a joke that would fail, they'd never put in the year of hard work testing out different new material to be able to then make a really good show that's worthy of being a Netflix special. Or how about someone that's too afraid of rejection that they never ask anybody on a date? They're not going to meet enough people to find someone worth dating who also wants to date them. The fear of failure leads to a complete failure to even try and get anywhere. A core growth mindset trait is embracing failures and recognizing setbacks and challenges as learning opportunities rather than indicators of inadequacy. And as they say, of course, perfect is the enemy of progress. So embrace that you will make mistakes in life and try not to make the same mistake twice. Moving on to number 3, ego depletion. You may not have heard of ego depletion, but it relates to willpower. After a long day of work, do you feel too tired and exhausted to pick yourself up and go to the gym or handle some social events? Are you also too tired to make healthy eating choices and lose that willpower, maybe end up on the couch eating fast food or ice cream? Well, you could be subscribing to the concept that self-control is limited, that there is only a finite amount of willpower available to us and it will run out when we overexert ourselves. In psychology, this myth is known as ego depletion. It's an easy explanation regularly spread by people searching for an easy answer. Carol Dweck herself proved that ego depletion was only observed in study participants who believed that willpower was a limited resource. Instead, we need to accept that ego depletion is purely caused by our own self-defeating expectation and not by any biological limit. The idea of ego depletion itself makes it more likely that we will fail and tell others of the reason for our failure, being lack of willpower. I am sure you've reached the end of a day and been lacking in motivation to go to the gym or a social event, and then dug in, gone, and surprised yourself by finding yourself really enjoying it and full of energy. Even though 10 minutes ago you were like, oh man, I don't have any of the energy to do this. It's going to be so hard. And it just wasn't true. A big reason that we lack the motivation is not so much that we are truly tired, more that we are viewing this task as difficult work and we amplify its difficulty instead of recognizing it as something fun that we'll enjoy or that will give us energy. The context which surprises us, and we then subscribe a bunch of negative emotions towards it that aren't true. In psychology, we prefer to look at willpower like an emotion, ebbing and flowing in response to what happens around us and how we feel. Towards the end of the day, our negative reaction when presented with a possibly difficult task is a temporary feeling rather than a total loss of willpower, and often a misrepresentation of how difficult the task even is. Of course, there are times in the day when different things are easier for us, such as concentrating on writing might be better for you in the morning or even going to the gym, etc. Some of this is biological, but a lot of it is environmental and how our other distractions and time management play into it. If you regularly do find you have plans going AWOL, it might well be due to poor planning and management of your day, or due to your personal perception that ego depletion is a thing. If so, you should be learning to reframe the resistance positively instead of assuming the easy self-defeating mindset. Number 4, Imposter Syndrome. Now, to be very clear here, Imposter Syndrome isn't a clinical syndrome as such. It was first recognized as the imposter phenomenon, and it is simply a cognitive bias. It's actually defined as a systematic error in the way individuals reason about the world due to subjective perceptions of reality. It is actually similar to negative self-talk that we spoke about earlier, but instead, it's a much deeper suspicion that you don't belong and someone will reveal that you are in fact a clueless idiot who doesn't know what they are doing and shouldn't be doing the job that you are doing. It's certainly something that I feel talking about psychology sometimes. A funny paradox about imposter syndrome is the more successful you become, the worse the imposter syndrome gets because, of course, more accolade and respect you have around your successes, the bigger your negative suspicions and worries are that they are all undeserved. Which, on one side of things, certainly makes sense, but of course it isn't an accurate representation of our skills. And I think in the same way that we are all big children just working out what the hell we are doing in the world, and yet we'll look up to other adults as if we expect that they know what they are doing or where they are going in life and why. Like the generation above us, we're always like, oh, they know what they're doing, and yet our generation is so lost. But actually, all generations are just making it up as they go along. In the same way, the concept of an expert often feels like something others around us have due to their deliberate, thought-out choices and their deep knowledge of their subject. Yet, internally for ourselves, we feel like we have a foggy memory of everything. If we got put on the spot, we wouldn't know what to say. We often rely on guessing, and however much research we might do, we still have this underlying feeling that we've missed something. For the decisions we make, we're still aware that there's probably something that we've done wrong. So how could we be so bold to consider ourselves an expert, yet we can easily consider someone else an expert despite the fact they probably had just as much second guessing or moments of unawareness as we do? For imposter syndrome, we do need to address it directly head on and understand it is simply a cognitive bias, and then really work towards short-circuiting it. You should review the achievements that you've had in the past 5 or 10 years and why you deserve them, because you did. Outline how much you've grown as a person. Try sharing your failures openly with friends, and you'll find that they certainly have plenty of struggles themselves. If you find yourself looking up to people, remember that they are just a big child working out what the hell is going on in the world, and they are really taking each day as it comes with a little bit of surprise and without some grand master plan. Okay, we have covered 4 of the 5 self-limiting beliefs I want to talk about today. We are going for a quick break, and then we'll be back to talk about the final one, and then we'll learn a bunch of ideas and frameworks for how to deal with them all. Catch you on the other side. Finally, self-limiting belief number 5. I'm actually going to throw you a curveball here, and this one comes from Nir Eyal himself. He is the king of behavioral hook designs and taking ownership of our own attention. This last self-limiting belief is, in fact, distraction. It might sound weird, but stay with me. The self-limiting belief itself is more importantly the idea that we are helpless against distraction. So, firstly, what is distraction? It is one of the biggest hurdles you'll have to achieving your goals, and it is anything that pulls you away from what you want to do. Like my cat right now making noise. Distraction. Thanks, buddy. Right on point for the example. But I do have to make a podcast, so you can go outside. Thank you. Where was I? Whether your distractions are your cats in the middle of recording a podcast, or checking social media or news, or doing household chores, or picking up the kids even, any task in itself is not a distraction. Even social media is fine, but not using social media in the middle of dinner with your family or when you're trying to get your work done. The reason that we think we are powerless against distraction is it's a belief perpetuated by the media. It's easy to point out the addictive nature of the attention-grabbing world, as if the world should change to sort itself out so it becomes less distracting again. That's not going to happen, and you are not powerless. In the same way that ego depletion is a myth, that if you believe it, starts to make it true and further reinforces it, if you believe that you can't do anything about distraction, then you're going to leave all of your notifications on, you're going to take your phone with you everywhere. It's not your fault if you're getting distracted by all these new apps and in increasingly distracting phones. What can you do? Nothing, but just get perpetually distracted. That is really stupid. If you follow Cal Newport's advice and turn your Wi-Fi off on your laptop, put your phone on airplane mode and sit and write for 2 hours with no other option but to get it done, hey, it gets done. Another big issue compounding this is many people are reaching for a self-assessed ADHD diagnosis as an excuse, and that turns into a self-perpetuating prognosis where they believe they are even more powerless and the world is against them. In case you confuse the words diagnosis and prognosis, a diagnosis is the determination of what a problem is, and prognosis is the prediction of how it will turn out. If you were to diagnose that you have ADHD, or just in general that you are powerless to distraction, it is incorrect and it leads you to a prognosis that you will always be powerless. Instead, if you are having a distraction problem, the diagnosis you should come to is that you have not met the power of distraction against you with an equal force due to lack of awareness of the problem or fighting the wrong types of battles. You should then find a solution that will give you a positive prognosis where you will move forwards managing the distraction. And there are many different things you can do to give yourself that positive prognosis. Nir Eyal has a 4-point action model in his book Indistractable that I recommend, so I'm just going to copy that directly. Number 1, master internal triggers. Distraction is an unhealthy escape from negative feelings and internal triggers. If we're doing something that bores us and makes us feel incompetent, we will seek relief with distractions. By identifying, exploring, and managing our internal triggers, we can make it that we will be less likely to run towards distraction to escape discomfort. 2, making time for traction. That means scheduling into your calendar and your day and communicating that you need a certain amount of time and space for traction. Now, traction is the opposite of distraction. Traction is making progress and doing stuff. So make sure you have time without any other external distractions for action that will help you meet your goals and values in a time-boxed calendar. By then knowing what you want to do at a given moment, you can recognize when you're being distracted and pulled away and fight against it. Because yes, you do need to answer your email at some point, but you don't need to answer your email during the hour that you've scheduled for doing something else. Number 3, hacking back external triggers. So external triggers are anything in our physical environment that pulls our attention away. That can be interruptions from family, co-workers. Often it'll just be notifications on your phone or email pings on your laptop, anything in the digital world, group chat, online feeds, etc. Limiting external triggers as much as possible will just turn off their influence. Number 4, preventing distraction with pacts. By making a pact or a pre-commitment, we can reinforce our defenses against distraction. Next time your dreams seem unachievable, ask yourself whether you're getting in your own way and take steps to overcome those limiting self-beliefs holding you back by making a pact and a positive commitment, usually with the presence of others that you're going to do it, and have that commitment and awareness hold you to it. So Nir Eyal regularly does say that managing distraction is one of the most important determinants of success in the modern age. And he's totally right. On top of that, I would also add that getting rid of all the other self-limiting beliefs is huge, and just being able to learn fast and embrace change and a growth mindset are probably the most essential factors that will determine your success going forwards, because the world is going to get a hell of a lot more distracting, and it's going to change faster and faster. So there you have it. We have covered the 5 biggest self-limiting beliefs that you need to change. The first one was your inner critic and negative self-talk. The second was fear of mistakes and believing that they are too costly. The third is ego depletion and thinking that willpower is a limited resource. The fourth mistake is the imposter syndrome and our cognitive bias against reality and our own abilities. And the final self-limiting belief was distraction and believing that we are powerless against it. I hope a few of those, if not all of them, have given you some ideas for growth. If you have a friend who needs to hear one of them, do share it with them and help the show reach more people. If you think there were any self-limiting beliefs we missed out, or that you want more details on one of the ones we mentioned, please hit me up in the comments or send an email to growthmindsetpodcast@gmail.com. Simba, give me 20 seconds. If you are feeling powerful and unlimited by the episode today, the kindest thing you can do is a positive review about the Growth Mindset podcast and ideas we share to help others find us. It does make a very big difference. And with that, remember that life is short, certainly too short to be held back by self-limiting beliefs. So make a point to improve on at least one thing from this episode and step closer towards your potential. Be kind to yourself, and whilst you're at it, be kind to someone else too. Thank you so much for listening.
Go you!
Your consistency to reach the end of an episode is legendary.
My hero!
If you have any ideas or feedback for the show, I'm always interested to hear from you.
You're the best!
Studies show we need time for information to sink in, so I'm going to give you a 5-second pause, silence, to reflect on one idea from the show before you jump back into your busy life. Ready and go.